Right, I'd like to welcome you all to the fantastic Chamonix Valley, which you can sort of see laid out behind me. Usually when I come here, it's normally in the winter. I've been coming here since 2000. I've come here every single year since 2000. Between 2000 and 2010, I was here every single winter all winter. Obviously the trees have grown up through the years, and at this time of year obviously there's leaves on the trees, so you can't see much of the valley behind us. You might be able to notice that in the background over there, the Lebosens Glacier, or the tongue of, poking out through the clouds. Now I can assure you, if the cloud cover wasn't so low today, you would be able to see the tops of the mountains and all the snow that is actually at the top of them. It is actually a very special place for me, and as I've just said, I've been coming here many years, and this is not actually my specific special place. I plan on going there tomorrow to start telling a bit more of my story and the reasons why I'm doing this. And the reason why I've chosen to go there tomorrow is because of the cloud base today. It also gives me a good 24 hours to have a decent rest, because it is going to be quite a long hike up. Hopefully I plan on getting there tomorrow around about midday, where according to the weather there should be a bit of sunshine, and you should see some of the backdrop being a bit more spectacular. Now I'd like to say a special thank you to a few people. Firstly, a fantastic guy called Ian Bryant. He owns IB Autos, can be found at Gables Garages, London Road in Rayleigh, Essex. Now he's pledged £2 per MOT, £5 per full service and £2.50 per in-term service on the cars that he has going through his garage during the course of this challenge. Now he's already informed me that he's already raised quite a bit of money in just the few days that I've already been doing this challenge, and I'm quite looking forward to the big fat juicy pot to put into the fund at the end. Second person I'd like to thank is Joe from Equidrapes. Now I know there's a few friends of mine on Facebook itself, Miss Abby for one, who actually already likes Equidrapes. Now Joe from Equidrapes quite kindly made me the t-shirts for this challenge, and she done them in quite a bit of a rush. Don't forget also that you can follow us on Instagram as well as Facebook, and we have the YouTube channel going, so don't forget to go there and subscribe, and obviously click the like on the Facebook page, and interact with me. That's very important. Interact with me on the Facebook page as we go through this journey. I have quite a lot of spare time on my hands travelling on trains, so it is quite nice to answer people's messages and emails. And you can ask me anything you like. You can poke fun at me about the previous videos of me wearing stockings and stuff. That's absolutely fine. I haven't got a problem with making fun of myself. The next person I'd like to thank is a personal friend of mine, Bob Howell. Now Bob is a photographer, and he's done quite a bit of work for me in the horse world and swimming events, stuff like that. And he quite kindly donated £100 to the charity fund right at the beginning of this project, before I'd even left the UK, to show his support in Action for Asperger's, as well as me telling my story. Lastly but not least, one special person I do need to thank is Elaine Nicholson, who is the founder of Action for Asperger's. Now I have to thank her for her help and time in giving me information, and she's always there at the end of the phone and email for me to pick on advice and to make sure that I'm saying the correct things. If I'm a bit unsure on some facts, I know I can just get in contact with her. She works tirelessly for the charity. So yes, a big thank you to Elaine herself, and I quite looking forward to seeing the charity pot growing. Probably not much to start with, but as I move on, hopefully more people will donate, and like I say, there are people who have got funds growing in the background that will donate at the end. So I quite look forward to be able to hand that over to the charity at the end, and hopefully we raise quite a bit of money to help a lot of people out, and we'll touch more on how the Action for Asperger's as a charity can help both people with Asperger's as well as people that haven't got Asperger's as we go along. Now, I'd like to actually introduce a special friend. This special friend who has actually got Asperger's, I've known for 5 or 6 years. We've been quite close, fairly intimate at times. We've just been good friends for the last couple of years, really. We've had a lot of ups and downs, and the whole reason for this trip was really me trying to understand their Asperger's, and also to understand myself and how things that I have done, a lot of them, or the majority of them, completely unintentionally, has actually affected them and their mental health and their mental well-being. And I hope that, you know, our relationship as friends can carry on in the future. Now, I always wanted to do this trip or one similar with my Aspie friend. It would have been nice to sort of go and see the world with a special close friend, someone who you can rely on, someone who you relate to. Now, when I say relate to, there's a couple of details I have to explain. Now, someone with Asperger's sometimes like to call themselves an Aspie, or referred to as an Aspie. Now, someone who hasn't got Asperger's would be called neurotypical, or NT for short. So my Aspie friend and myself, I would be the NT. Now, out of fairness and leading up to this challenge, I quite hurriedly went through and done the test myself, and actually found that I actually hover on the threshold of Asperger's myself. So I actually share a lot of traits that someone with Asperger's actually has. I do suffer with quite a few of the social disorders that someone with Asperger's may actually have. And as we go along through this journey, we will go through a lot of the typical traits that someone with Asperger's suffers, and I will highlight my own traits. I will not highlight my friend's traits. I will just give a general overall view of what someone with Asperger's may or may not suffer. A lot of the time, someone with Asperger's actually has an awful lot of these traits that I will explain as the journey goes on, which makes their life very difficult and can be quite confusing for other people that interact in their life. Now, my Aspie friend actually has high functioning Asperger's, so you wouldn't actually know that they suffer Asperger's until you get quite close and personal with them. And that's when you really discover that they have personal problems in their life. And the problem with Asperger's is it's very personal to them, and because it's a social I'm not sure if disorder is the correct term, but because it's a social disorder, they find it hard to not just deal with, but they find it hard to talk about. So a lot of the time, people with Asperger's actually suffer in silence, and they don't really have special people, special friends that they can talk to about, and they don't actually go and find the help that they really could do with. So if you feel that you may have Asperger's, and believe me, when you hear of these traits, everyone will have some of the traits. There's no two ways about that. You have to have quite a lot of the traits to even be classed as Asperger's. So don't start, you know, as we go along the journey, you start thinking, oh, well, I'm a bit like that, or oh, I'm a bit like that, or maybe I've got Asperger's, and start worrying about it. It's nothing to worry about. If you haven't had a problem in your life so far, then you're not going to have a problem. I mean, I myself have never really classed myself as having a problem. I've just got on with life. I've just gone along with the ebb and flow of life. But as I'm getting older, and I've started fearing what I thought was, to start with, was loneliness, but actually what I've recently realised my fear was actually growing old and being alone. So not loneliness in itself, because one of the traits of Asperger's can be that they are quite recluse, and they have a lot of alone time, and they prefer that alone time. I, on the other hand, actually prefer to be with people, but I don't like being with people that I don't know. I don't like being with people where I have to actually try and make the effort to start conversations off. I have to feel very comfortable in my small social group, and then I prefer to actually be more of an extrovert, as people at work will know, and I can be quite outrageous with the things I say, and that in itself is actually a trait of Asperger's, being an extrovert as well as an introvert, but actually coming out with things that aren't necessarily socially or politically correct. So there's just a few things that give you a little insight into me and Asperger's themselves. So moving on, because I couldn't bring along my true Aspie friend for this journey, no matter how much I would have loved to, what I've actually done is I've brought along a very special friend that I would like to introduce to you now. Now, this special friend is, like everything else I'm going to be talking about with Asperger's, is gender neutral, okay? My special friend has got a name, and its name is Mumbles. Now, Mumbles, as you will see on the picture in the corner of the screen, has been with me from the start of the journey, attached to the back of my rucksack, waving woo at everyone as we've been going along our journey, all the way from Gatwick Airport to Chamonix, where we are now. Now, I have to thank Joe from Equidrapes, who rushed Mumbles out for me literally only days before I left, and made the t-shirt, including the charity logo, Action for Asperger's. Unfortunately not big enough to actually put Race Across Europe 2019, but you can't have everything. Now, Mumbles here, who I've said does suffer Asperger's. Now, Mumbles will be talking to me. Yes, Mumbles. I know, don't worry, I will tell them. When the time's right, I'll tell them, okay? Mumbles here does suffer Asperger's and relies on me heavily for help and support. Now, I will be reflecting on Mumbles and its struggle throughout this journey, and together we will go along this trip and this journey of discovery, and we will hopefully enlighten you and other people. And then what we can say now for sure, that if you know you have Asperger's, or you've been one of these people that have been looking online and you look at all these various different traits, then don't worry, all my research material I will give the links for at some point in the future and pin them in Facebook, so you can go and look yourself. If you fear that you are actually covering a lot of these traits, and you actually think, do you know what, I really relate to that and I've really struggled through life, I'm not going to say grow a set of balls, because that's unfair on someone who's got Asperger's, because that's something they cannot do. I'm actually going to use the term reach out. Reach out to someone like Action for Asperger's. They do Skype sessions, and they may be able to help. They're very good at what they do, and there's no need to suffer in silence. I really feel and I really hope that some of you out there that have got Asperger's, especially those with high function Asperger's, that people don't believe there's anything wrong with them because they're too normal, but actually think there is something wrong with them. But you look at them, you might think that they're rude or arrogant or something like that. And this is the experience that I've had. I've not thought that people were rude and arrogant, but I've seen other people saying that, you know, my Aspie friend, for instance, or Mumbles here, for instance, is rude or arrogant. And it's wrong, because they don't actually understand that this person's got Asperger's, or Mumbles here has got Asperger's. But Mumbles can't turn around because of their social disorder and tell them. And why should they say they've got a problem? They're just a person just like you and me going through life. So don't be so quick to jump on the bandwagon and start labelling people as horrible or rude or arrogant or anything like that, because you never know what is going on inside someone's head until you really get to know them. So, from me and Mumbles, for now, until tomorrow, goodbye.